So we are on day 3 of CANEX Weekend 2024, and we're here with Boris Kodjoe, and he is always supporting CANEX events. And it's so good to see you again, Boris, after Bahamas,
great to see you.
After Cairo, and you're here again. You are on a panel tomorrow.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
It's a panel that talks about Africa as a, let me look it up, I don't know what it is.
I love it. I love it. He's always here to basically, I think my interpretation as somebody who's always seen you here, it is just so supportive to see you, especially the way you were talking about the creative industry and the film industry and how Africans can leverage content and also make partnerships, because a lot of the Africans were asking you questions along the lines of how do we get our content out there? And you shared that even as a Black American actor, getting your content out as a Black American actor in America is already a struggle.
That's right.
Let alone African content to the world.
Okay, here it is.
Okay.
From production to distribution, resourcing an evolved African film and TV
there we
industry.
go, right there. From production to distribution, all right?
Resourcing.
So production, distribution, and I guess it's also then capital,
Look,
right?
it's about the entire content value chain, right? And it's discussing how we as Africans can control and own the entire content value chain. Right now, there's a lot of independent film producers in Africa who scrape together some money and then they produce a film and then they have to get it seen. So they don't have access to distribution. What do they do?
Right.
The answer lies in us controlling the entire content value chain from development through production, distribution, and monetization in perpetuity, because you got to remember that when you have a movie or a few movies that you own, you can actually monetize them over time repeatedly.
Right.
The movies come out in theaters, that's once, but then you have streamers, you have pay-per-view, you have cable, you have premium and
I was going to ask about the content,
regular
the platforms.
cable, you have networks.
Right.
And not just in Africa, but worldwide. So how do we maximize our creative potential as Africans and be able to export
our content,
our goods and
stories,
services, AKA our content.
Right.
Without giving away our talent and without giving away our IP.
This is it. So we have platforms here in Africa, which again, not everyone has access to.
Showmax,
one of the things in Africa is access. We can talk about the cable networks, but not every African has access to the internet, for example. So ourselves, even to our local market, it's so hard to get the stories out there because not everyone gets to watch them because of how the continent is still set up, the poverty that's still there. And then you, being part of the Hollywood, let's call it, it's very also difficult for us to get our content out there because Netflix will have all these rules, Showmax will have all these rules, and I don't know if our producers and our creators are even able to follow the terms and conditions when it comes to paperwork and patenting and all of that stuff. So I don't know what...
undervalued, under-resourced, no access, those are all issues we're dealing with. But you got to remember, we have a huge collective power as Africans that we can use as leverage as it pertains to our numbers, right? Because the continent is getting younger, everybody else is getting older. We have 400 million people under 35 right now. We will have almost 2 billion people in the next 8 to 10 years. And we will have about 40% of the world's youth in Africa. What that means is that content consumption as well as creation is going to take place in Africa.
Got you.
The key is 5G high-speed internet.
That's it.
Right? As telecom companies start to introduce more and more high-speed internet across the continent, so will content creation and consumption.
Find more opportunities.
Exactly. So because what really matters here in the next 5 to 10 years is this.
Accessibility. So for example, in Southern Africa,
when you have 5G on this,
that's it.
then you'll have kids all over Africa pressing a button and watching movies. And that will change the world's creative industry in a way,
in a big way.
That is unprecedented.
Starlink has just come to Zimbabwe, for example.
That's right. So that's what we are excited about. The fact that in a few years, we will have the global content industry right here in Africa.
I like that. I like that. So the opportunities we need to look out for, as explained obviously, is that the cell phone, as we've known over years, has become one of the most powerful mediums, and everything is accessible there. So as Africans, that's part of our homework. We can be here and talk about all kinds of creative opportunities, but I think it always comes down to policies in our governments and the telco companies, the MNOs. Like I said, we have Starlink in our country. I don't know about you guys, but it's arrived. Pricing, all of that competitiveness. Yeah. So we see where we go.
That data is what convinces the regulating bodies and the governments to make sure that those creative industries are supported, because
absolutely.
They have a huge economic, cultural, and social impact. Continent-wide.
So our messaging must stay strong and stay unique. And we are looking forward to the panel tomorrow. Obviously, there'll be a lot more to discuss, so I don't want to preempt too much more. All of it will be unpacked tomorrow with the other panelists. So thank you so much for your time, as always.